Hello everyone, my name is Sick. Welcome to the Sniper Elite 5 guide. Sniper Elite 5 has been out for a while now, and after being invaded a couple of times and planning on doing invasion on live streams, I decided to compile a list of 10 tips for the new invasion mode. So without too much preamble, let's get to it. Tip number 1. Don't push deep into territory you haven't at least partially cleared out yet. As the person that is being invaded, you have the added troubles of enemy soldiers moving about. A firefight with an invader can quickly get chaotic, and regular soldiers are sure to get involved as well. You will receive too much incoming fire to shoot accurately, or even run the risk of getting flanked and being forced to move from either your cover or concealment. As a result, especially if you get invaded later in the mission, try your hardest not to move into areas you haven't yet been to, but rather try to stay on the outskirts of the map and take the enemy out from a safe distance. There is a balancing act to be played here, of course, especially if you only have one objective left to complete and have no choice but to move towards it. This will definitely shift the odds in favor of your opponent, who knows you'll have to come towards them. But don't be too eager to run in. Traps will likely be waiting for you, in addition to the enemy soldiers and the invader as well. But you can still try to wear down your opponent's patience by being careful, hopefully leading to them revealing themselves and giving you a shot at them. Tip number 2. Move from cover to cover or concealment in as short a burst as possible. Do so quickly if you are out in the open and are more likely to get spotted. Do so softly and quietly in a busy area. Try to never get stuck out in the open. If you see an open field you have to cross, try to find a different way around instead, or select a path with the highest amount of cover possible and move in short bursts between them. Open fields mean long sightlines, allowing the enemy to target you from far away. You can rely on speed to make their shot harder. But if you feel that the enemy might be close, or even within hand-to-hand combat range, move slowly, so that your footsteps don't give you away. Try to cause distractions by throwing bottles, or by any other means you can think of if there are enemy NPCs around. You might trick your opponent into thinking the NPCs have seen you, and will also put their focus and attention on that area. As long as they didn't see the bottle fly or heard its impact, of course. Tip number 3. Leave traps in hard-to-see places if you plan on staying put for a while. This is essentially Sniper Tactics 101, but it's something to reinforce nonetheless. As the victim of an invasion, you have the problem of having to move towards your opponent. This allows them to prepare traps for you. But early on, when there are still many objectives to be done, it can be hard for your opponent to decide where to go. You might lure them into a trap yourself. If you intend on staying put in a defensible location, make sure you leave some traps for them as well. You can also leave traps behind you as you move towards an objective, because the enemy might not be waiting ahead of you, but could also be tracking you from behind. Who knows? You might get lucky and have them step onto a mine. Tip number 4. As the invader, consider not being in front of your enemy at all times. Invaders tend to wait for their opponent to come to the objective, which is a good enough way of making sure you can spot them. But they are also more likely to catch the glint of your scope when you aim. If you know where the enemy is and where they have to go, try to find a place where the enemy can pass you by, so you can shoot them in the back. They'll never see your scope glint if they've got their back turned towards you. Tip number 5. As the invader, take advantage of the NPCs around you. If you're playing as the invader on any mode below Authentic, you can tag German soldiers. These will be marked permanently, and you'll be able to see if they are suspicious or even in combat from across the map. This gives you a wide net of information to use, even without calling in at a telephone, which would of course also give away your position. Tag as many as you can for the biggest net of information. Or just use them as meat shields to distract the enemy, or just give them too many targets to choose from and keep them unsure of who the sniper actually is. If your opponent is engaged with NPCs, they are too busy to look for you. It provides a window of opportunity for you to take the shot. Tip number 6. Take advantage of terrain to break up your silhouette. Humans are quick to spot irregularities in otherwise straight terrain, like if you're behind a wall. They are less likely to spot you in a visually busy terrain piece like tall grass or bushes. In addition, it's really important to make sure that if you take cover behind a wall, that you don't allow your character to stick his weapon up out of cover. Sometimes they will, so keep an eye out for that and turn your body around if you see it happen. Tip number 7. Make sure to leave a way out for yourself. Ensure you can retreat safely, which means preferably you need to break line of sight completely. Don't allow yourself to get stuck in place. If the way forward would mean you cannot go back if your opponent engages you, don't move there in the first place. Tip number 8. Observe everything. Admire nothing. Never blindly focus on any area. Keep scanning the terrain. Don't look at the sunset or a cool looking set piece area. Maps are wide open and your opponent can come from any direction. Until you get a hint of their whereabouts, move in short bursts from concealment to concealment before stopping and scanning the area around you in its entirety. You do not need to be on the move constantly. However, eventually the game will tell your opponent where you are if you stay put for too long. Think of yourself like a spider on the move. Every time you stop, take the time to spin a web. The web, of course, being the means of observation for the spider. Take your time and allow your opponent to make the first mistake, aka getting caught in the web. That is when the spider strikes. Don't be too hasty to close the distance. A spider without a web is toothless. Tip number 9. Movement attracts the eye. This tip really ties in with some of the previous tips, but it's good to reinforce the notion. The human eye is drawn to movement. It's hard to find anything if it's not moving. Just think of those picture puzzles where you need to find the 10 differences. It can take ages to find them, but if they moved, they would stick out immediately. Such is the case for almost any video game as well, where maps or levels can be largely static. Anything that moves will immediately stick out, so don't move if you don't have to. Take that time to establish your web. Tip number 10. Never peek out from the same location twice. So, you finally found the enemy, but they found you too. Now it's a game of cat and mouse, the hunter becoming the hunted, before becoming the hunter once again. Another Sniper 101 lesson. Don't take a shot from the same location unless you absolutely know for sure that the enemy has no clue as to where you are, or they are busy moving around and don't have the time to shoot back just yet. If there is nowhere else to go, and you did get stuck in place, and this one piece of cover is all you have to work with, at least move a little to the left or to the right from where you were before, if you can do so. Or consider going prone and shooting from the edges of cover. However, I would advise you to never shoot from the left side of cover. The simple reason for that is that your character has the weapon on the right side of their body. That means, before you can shoot from the left side of cover, your entire body needs to get out of cover before the weapon gets clear. And if you move to the right hand side of cover, however, your weapon will stick out first before your body does. That's it for my list of tips. Thank you so much for watching, and please do leave a like and a comment below, and consider subscribing if you enjoyed this content. There is plenty of Sniper Elite 4 as well as 5 content on my channel. All of it played on authentic mode for single player, as well as some invader content that could be any difficulty really. Sadly, I don't get control over that, so it is what it is. I look forward to seeing you on whatever video or live stream I do next.